Welcome back to the Femme podcast,
with your hosts, Rami and Alicia,
where we talk all things fitness, mindset, and everything in between
to help you become your most fierce and femme selves.
Welcome back to today's episode, and we are talking all things time management because I'm sick of hearing from people
that they don't have time.
I don't have time.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah, because you probably do. You're just not actually managing and utilizing that time to the best of your abilities. So, can I kick off first?
Yeah, go.
The best thing that you need in your corner, I will hype on about it till the day I die, Google Calendar. It's fucking free.
Literally.
And it can look so pretty. No, it can. I've made mine all pink, of course.
It's very cute, her one.
So I've got about 12 different shades of pink for all my different calendars, and I break it up to the max of today. Drive to Rami's, drive to podcast studio, do the podcast, drive back to Rami's, drive back home. Got my client calls and they're in a different color because they're Zoom calls, and the podcast is in a different color because it's podcast, and driving's in a different color. But honestly, block it out to the T. And one, I'm such a visual person. So visually, if I open up the way it does it on Google Calendar, if I open it up, I can see the first 4 things of my day. So helpful. I work at so many different Pilates studios. If I open that calendar, I can see what studio I'm working at and what times. So simple. So if you're someone who's constantly losing track of time, or you have so much happening and you just feel like you don't know how to keep track of it, use Google Calendar, because the other thing you can do is have it remind you. So I've got my reminders on for half an hour before. So half an hour before I need to leave to Rami's, reminder, in half an hour you need to leave. In half an hour, you've got a client call. If you need it as well in 5 minutes, you can also set it for 5 minutes. You really have no excuse when there's things like that exist.
I use Time Tree that you can share with someone else. So Vas can see. So I started using that when I had started shift work. So I was like, dude, I can't keep telling you when I'm working. And it was so convenient because then he can just see the shifts. He can see the lifestyle. He can see when I've got client sessions. And it just reduces having to have so many conversations. It's like, babe, look at the calendar.
I need to get that.
It's so convenient. And honestly, just on that, if you're a busy bee and you're not putting shifts, appointments and things in your calendar, what the hell, Leonte? What are you doing? I can't even imagine what's going on in your world if you're not managing your time. When I was working shift work, some people would be like, oh, I'll just check the day before when I'm working next. I'm like, what? That would blow my mind. I'm like, you get your 4 weeks in advance. Just chuck them in your calendar so you already know. You're not having to think so much, because I'm all for with time management to reduce thinking, to reduce overwhelm. It's it's there. It's in front of you, right? So I guess that kind of ties in with you've got to be self-accountable and you've got to be honest. And if you're saying that you don't have time for something, I think I've said this in a recent episode, it's reshifting that to saying I'm not prioritizing myself, because that's what it comes down to. It's not that you don't have time, you're just wasting time on other things. Go and look at your screen time. We always harp on about this because, oh my God, the amount of hours that are on there that you could utilize for meal prep, the gym, for a walk, a phone call with your bestie, doing your makeup, whatever it is, there is time. It's about being honest with how you use it and how you utilize it.
Yeah. And I think honesty on where are you not only in your screen time, but taking more time to do things than you really need. For example, I know if I really need to, I can be waking up and out of the house in 10 minutes. I do that. I like to do that when I'm getting up for Pilates, because to me, my sleep is more valuable than having an hour where I just sort of dawdle around and get ready when I can literally be up and ready in 10 minutes. So if you were to be so honest with yourself, how long can you have a shower? 5 minutes. Why does it have to take you 20 minutes, 30 minutes? That is valuable time right there that you could be putting to other things. Like you said, the gym, health and fitness. And I think I do hear this so much as a coach, because everyone goes, I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to get my steps in. It doesn't actually take as much time as you think it is. I think in your head, you're thinking that this is 4 hours a day that you need to commit to absolutely everything you're doing. Whereas realistically, 5 minutes here and there can actually make so much more of an impact. But saying you don't have time is actually just a cover up, an excuse for you to not actually do the work. So on that honesty and self-accountability, are you using I don't have time as an excuse? but then you are just sitting there and scrolling for hours and you're like, oh, this is just a really good excuse and I'm just really easy to get away with it. Because how often, unless you know a coach, will someone argue with you that you do have time? Because it is a really common complaint that if you're around, I like to say the everyday person, but if you're in a 9 to 5, you're not really as much of a part of this personal development world. Say you've just started listening to the podcast, you're just starting to dive into it. You maybe are around a lot of people that all the time are saying, oh, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. But then spend hours on end watching TV. That's another good one. Like great series. That sometimes is 4 hours at night. There's actually so many times I think about, I love to finish my day around like 5 and have my afternoon with my partner. But then I notice when he's not home, I'm like, fuck, if I go to bed at 9 o'clock, that's 4 hours. That's a lot of fucking time. So if that's you too, how many times is it, okay, maybe your work day's finished here or something's finished here and you're saying you don't have time, but then you're also spending 4 hours watching TV at the end of the day as well.
And what's really important is just making decisions quicker. Because you'll be surprised at how many times you'll say that you don't have time for something. That's because you spent 3 hours overthinking what you wanted to do for the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So when you build that resilience and discipline to just make decisions so much faster, you'll be surprised at how much time you'll save. Imagine sitting there thinking, what am I going to have for dinner tomorrow? And then you don't make that decision. So you've wasted an hour. And then you go do a task. And then you come back to the same conversation in your head. And it's like, now you've wasted 2 hours on the same fucking thought process that could have taken you 5 minutes if you just made the decision. And this really came to, what's the word? Like I realized this
Fruition.
recently, with one of my clients who kept saying that she really struggled with time management. And the more that we dove deep into it, it wasn't actually the time management. It was the fact that she just struggled to make decisions quickly because she was putting everyone else's needs, everyone else and everything else before her. And equally, she's got kids. So naturally, mothers, we see you. We know how hard it is to manage children and do all these things. But I also know mothers who are still doing the most and putting themselves first and ensuring that they're achieving their goals and just making it work for them because you've got to be flexible around your time management. I think that's really important. So if you are that person that's got kids, be realistic with where you're, cautious of hurting your feelings, but also not, like where you're using that as an excuse. Because there are sadly a lot of people that go, oh, but I've got kids, so I can't do this and I can't do this because I've got children and I've got to do this. It's like, you probably can if you just cleaned up a little bit of your decision making and cleaned up where you're doing things for them versus where you're doing things for you.
I think even around the decision making is your language around it. I pulled up a client on this recently where she kept saying, my aim is to get to the gym today, or my plan is to. And I'm like, by you saying that, you're giving yourself an out, because then when I ask you tomorrow, oh no, I didn't quite get around to it, instead of I am going to the gym today.
It's like the word try. Anytime one of my clients say try, I'm like, in the fucking bin, mate, because that is such a gray area. That is a stroking the ego. Maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't.
Yeah.
Try doesn't fucking exist in this world, sweetie.
Yeah. And it's giving yourself, again, that's an excuse. You're giving yourself an out to not do it because of the way that you're utilizing your language. So actually start to own, I'm getting to the gym today. And then if you don't fucking do it, babe, that was on you. And it starts to also help you own more when you don't make it happen and you don't prioritize it. Whereas my aim, it's so wishy-washy, and it's same with like, just fucking decide that you're going, because again, it's the whole coming down to you are then choosing not to prioritize yourself, because the work stuff comes up and that's more important because, oh, but I aimed to get to the gym. Not, well, I'm getting to the gym today. Like actually look down. I think a big thing with time management, I can't remember if this was on our notes or not, but I'm just going to pop it in there, is what do you value? And not what do you think you value. If you were to look at your calendar and how you spend your time at the moment, what is that telling you about your values? Because I've had this thought process conversation with myself before. I thought I valued the really successful business and always working on my business, but I'm like, well, in my actions, it's actually showing me I value time with my partner. There's a big value for me, and that I will leave the work aside to spend time with him. So that's showing me that's a bigger value for me. If you're not prioritizing your health and fitness, it's clearly not as big of a value for you right now, but you're prioritizing your work and your career. There's no right or wrong, but I think a big thing with your time management is get clear on if you really value your health and fitness. There is nothing when you look at your Google Calendar or your time tree, is that what it was called?
Yeah.
Yeah, that has health and fitness on it, then you're doing something wrong. That cannot be a priority for you if that's not actually something that you're choosing to pour your time and energy into.
And communication is key. If that is something that's important to you, but your mates are saying, come out and do this, and your partner's like, well, can you come and do that? That is where I think a lot of people then go, oh, but I don't have time for myself because they're going to go and commit to everyone else and everything else. And it's not that you didn't have time. It's the priorities. It's the values, literally exactly like you said. I had this conversation the other night in my masterclass about women who are really burnt out and exhausted and then go, well, I don't have time for X, Y, and Z. But it's like, what are you doing with your time right now? And I made it really clear to them, it's not about doing more. It's not about committing to more and adding to your plate. Because a lot of the time, people who say they don't have time, they think, oh my God, I've got to do this and do that. So it feels like it's adding to it, right? All you got to do is just look at your lifestyle. Look at your day-to-day habits. Where are you giving too much time to something that maybe doesn't really matter to you versus where are you giving your time to people who you don't really care about that much anymore, but maybe you're just so used to it. You're so used to being the high achiever, you're used to being the person that's so relied on, you're so used to being the independent person one. It's like life evolves, life changes, which means you have to sort of morph with your new lifestyle, which requires you being smarter and more effective with where you're going with your time and what you're doing with it. Because I say this time and time again, but it's our most valuable asset. You can't buy that. You cannot get time back. You'll never get this day again, ever again. And it's such a, it's such an eye opener and such a reality check. And I want you guys to sit there and think, what am I actually doing with it?
Mm.
And I think that it's, I always find it so sad bringing this up, but my dad just went to sleep and did not wake up. And I hate giving that reality check to people, but that is my reality. And that's why I always say that time is so valuable because he didn't know when he was going to die. He didn't know the last time he was going to go to sleep. We didn't know the last time we were going to say goodbye to him because people are so naive into thinking, oh, I'll start this thing tomorrow and I'll do that tomorrow. I didn't have time today, so I'll just do it tomorrow. But my dad didn't have tomorrow. What makes you think you're going to have it? And I know that's so grim and dark and scary for some of you. That's very normal for me. And that is why people like you and I try so hard to make people understand how important it is to just live your fucking life and live for you. Yes, you might have kids and you might have obligations and work and things like that, but what is actually so important to you? What do you really want to do with your time? And I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here, but even with shift workers, for example, like police officers, I know how many of them take that identity home with them and then they feel so burnt out and exhausted. So they feel like, I feel like with time as well, such an identity thing of that's why they say they don't have time for X, Y, and Z because their mind is so consumed by the whole day that they've just had or the whole conversation that they've just had and all these stresses and worries. And it's like the better you can get with your time management, the better you can get with decision making, and the better you can get with putting yourself first, you're not going to sit there and complain that you don't have time because you're making use of it.
And I think a big thing for me at the moment is I want to help women who suck at pouring time into themselves. But why let me go in 10 different directions here, is that I think so many women think that it's more beneficial for them to give their time to others. However, if all you're constantly doing is giving your time to others, you're not actually benefiting them when you have nothing for yourself. This is a big conversation that came up at my retreat, is that maybe your fear of disappointing people and saying no to their plans and everything. But if you're then showing up to those plans with literally zero social battery, you've got nothing fucking left in you. Because again, if we're looking at that whole calendar, it is constantly filled with events, birthdays, picking someone up, doing this for someone. And it's like, where is the Alicia time? Where is the Rami time? Where is the time that is purely dedicated to you? Because we can, with time being so valuable, we can't give to everyone else when you're not actually giving anything to yourself. And I think this is where I really like to open up the conversation around. I know I've sort of pivoted here in a sense, but it's going to benefit people so much more when you fill your cup and then maybe go to a few less events. But when you're at those events, you have got everything to give. You are your best self, and people around you are actually going to notice that. I think so many people have the belief that it's selfish to pour time into yourself, whereas I've actually seen this firsthand in myself. I was the people pleaser. I was the person that did the lifts for everyone, did all, everything and anything for everyone else but me. And once I actually started to pour back into myself, one, the self-respect from people.
Yeah.
I truly do believe, and I felt it, that when I was that person, no one respected me. No one did. I got treated like shit from
Mhm.
friendships, relationships, family even, and not from a sense of any rudeness in terms of them, but it's like, well, they knew I'd say yes, so why wouldn't they ask? And now that I do have more boundaries and I respect myself and I pour into myself more, I have so much more love and respect from the people around me, and they get an even better version of me because of that.
Yeah, because when you choose yourself, that emanates. And I had this conversation with a girlfriend literally the other day because she's got very strict and beautiful boundaries around her lifestyle. She likes to go to bed at a certain time, get up at a certain time, and all these sorts of things. Whereas she's got a friend who is in a completely different lifestyle and wants to go out on the nights and go do classes and things that like really late. And this other friend's like, that doesn't really work for me.
Mm.
And it's this interesting thing of you have to be really open and honest with people about what you want to do with your time. And those people are going to respect that. Like you said, if someone said to me, hey, babe, I don't really want to hang out tomorrow because I actually want to sit and read my book, I'm not going to be like, are you fucking loser? I'm going to be like, wow, pop off, babe. Like, love
Mhm.
that you're choosing you because you clearly need it. You're never going to say to your mates, no, please come and do this and come and do that, because you know how important it is to fill your cup up. And you're right, we have gone on such a tangent because it's so much more than just the time management. There is always so much more. There's beliefs, the identity, choosing yourself. And if you're saying you don't have time, but you're doing everything for everyone, it's that identity of I am that person that does that. It's like, you don't have to be.
Mm.
You can be the person that chooses you, and then people will follow, and then you will notice how much better your time is.
And I think it's again the identity shift of I hear all the time, I'm so bad at planning, I'm so bad at organizing, I'm so bad at time management. Are you, or do you just not do it? Like, because there's a big difference between being bad at it if you're actually attempting it, but if you're just not actually doing it, you're not bad at it. You're just not even fucking trying to do it. Like, if you're someone who believes that you're quote unquote bad at time management, let's actually start to take again accountability, responsibility that, and can we actually start to plan your day? Simple as that. Can you plan out, be a little bit more effective with how you're spending your time with partner, with friends, with family? Highly recommend dedicate, whether it's a day, whether it's 2 hours to you, and that is not negotiable. That is time that if someone asks to catch up in that time, that is dedicated purely to you, and no one can actually fill that time because I think so many people view that as free time, whereas it's like,
Mm.
no, your time is valuable. Like Ryan was saying before, I think start to actually treat that so much deeper. And the reason I did want to open up that conversation to it is because I think when people avoid their time management, they're also avoiding something deeper
Mhm.
and they love the chaos. And again, I was also someone like that, that I thrived in the chaos and actually having time to myself, uncomfortable as fuck. I remember when I moved out into my first apartment by myself, I was so excited. It's like, can't wait to live on my own and have all this time and space. It was deafening sometimes, the silence, and to just be on my own and
Mm.
to learn how to actually love my own company and to entertain myself, of not just watch TV all the time. Like maybe I will paint something, or maybe I'll sit on the balcony. And so many mornings where I just did, I feel like I said this in so many episodes, of sit there and just have my silence. And I would just sit there and look and appreciate all the time that I did have for myself. Of like, really look at, are you bad at time management, or what are you actually avoiding by saying that you're bad at time management?
I love that. I encourage, as soon as you finish listening to this episode, everyone, look at your calendar and put in everything you need to for the rest of this week. You don't have to do the whole month, a fortnight. Start off with just the week.
Yeah, I always block it by week anyways, because
Yeah,
it's too overwhelming. I also don't know, in 2 weeks, something might also get added on.
exactly.
Like we
New
can just take it
plans.
week by week, day by day, again, break it down. Don't
That's
overwhelm
it.
yourself.
Just give yourself 10, like, what will it take? Not even 10 minutes to just
No.
plan the week ahead. Put in your calendar where you've got your appointments, where you're picking up your kids, where you're going to the gym, when you're going for a walk, and just notice how you feel straight after that.
Mm.
And then check back in at the end of the week how that week went for you, because reflecting and being honest and auditing how that went is also really important, because you could have put time aside for an activity that either took longer or really shorter. And then you at least know that for the following week. I think people, like you said, they avoid the time management because they don't know how to do it. But it takes time to figure out how long things take for you. It could take you a whole month before you figure out what works for your schedule and your lifestyle. And that's okay. There's no pressure to have it all sorted and have it all perfect. Be flexible, be compassionate, and just have fun with it. It's not that fucking deep.
Yeah. And I think actually once you plan it, stick to it, because it's one thing to plan it and do all the fun Google Calendar, but then don't ignore it. Actually take the action, set the reminders. And one thing I did want to say more at the start is for like the girlies who maybe are more ADHD or all those things, set 10 fucking reminders if you need to. Like you can still take the accountability and responsibility, and whether you need a massive loud sound going with it or whatever, like there are ways that we can still make sure that we don't forget to do things, because that's another thing that I hear, oh, I just forget to do it. Well, then let's take the action to make sure you don't forget.
Yeah.
Because again, that's just an excuse for you not doing it.
Literally, one of my girlfriends, she would always be like, I'm just always late to things. Like, why don't you just put an alarm on for when you need to leave the house? And she's like, oh yeah, like good idea. Don't fall into the trap of the identity that you create for yourself and the excuses that you hold on to, because there is always a way to be better and do better.
Love.
Cool.
All right, my loves. Well, if you enjoyed this episode, if you action any of the tips that we shared, we'd love to hear. You can even post a little photo of your Google Calendars,
and
your time trees, whatever. And we would love to hear it, see it, all the things. So we love you so much, and we'll be back in your ears next week. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening.
If you're on Spotify, don't forget to give us a follow and rate us 5 stars.
And if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, and comment down below.
We'll be back in your ears next week. Bye.